Good morning and good evening to everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar. This is your host Ashutosh, who will walk you through this topic, which is about what it takes for one to become a transformation leader. I hope my voice is audible to everyone and all of you are able to view the screen. So first of all, thanks a lot for enrolling and joining. I know it's a midweek. Yes, we are towards the end of the week, but yeah, Thursday morning, especially, we do see a lot of folks from US and Canada today. So for the special thanks for all of you for joining. And I would walk you through next the 35 to 40 minutes on what are those leadership attributes which one needs to have in order to be a transformation leader. We hear this term a lot nowadays, right? I mean, in our day-to-day work, in our interaction with various stakeholders, we hear this word a lot, transformation. But believe me, when I interact with people, when I interact even with the middle management and senior leaders, this word is very confusing word. What people talk about as transformation is not really transformation. What they are meaning is transition. So there's a fundamental difference between transition and transformation, which people don't really understand. They think transformation is equal to transition. There's a fundamental difference between transition and transformation. As you can see here in the picture itself, uh, 45 years back, if I wanted to draft a letter, I had to use this device which is called as a typewriter. Today, all I need is a laptop with a connectivity and my letter is drafted. I, in fact, don't even need a printout. In many of the transactions which I'm doing, I really don't even need a printout to be attached to this letter, right? So this is an example of a transformation. This is not a transition. This is not a transition. So what is transition? Let me explain. A few years back, if you would have observed, there were those normal archaic typewriters, and then came an era of electronic typewriters. I'm sure many of us would have seen it, or many of us would have heard stories about it. So the normal typewriter was converted into an electronic typewriter. You still had to roll in the paper, you still had to key in, but there was some I would say basic word processing facilities which were available in that device. That is a transition. So from a normal typewriter to an electronic typewriter is a transition, but from an electronic typewriter into a laptop is a transformation. Just to put the context set before we move into our webinar. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ashutosh Bhattodekar. I think many of us I see in the link are already connected with me on LinkedIn. For others, you can feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. So this is my LinkedIn ID, which is given there. And you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be more than happy to connect with you and talk further and take this discussion further to any query you have. So that's my LinkedIn ID. I'm not that active on Twitter, but still I have shared my Twitter ID here, right? And welcome to the world where all of us have been for almost now 8 to 9 months, right? To be very honest, when lockdown started, I never thought that this would extend to this level, right? I don't know how many waves of corona we have gone through. The second wave, third wave, right? It goes up, again comes down, goes up, again comes down. So 2020, I think for all of us, it has been an year. Whereas one very famous personality has said, this is not a year, this is a decade. This is a decade, and welcome to the new normal, where things are not the way it used to be, right? I just go back 1 year back, where my life was also totally different, and I'm sure each one of us life has been impacted by what we call as this pandemic. And a very famous quote by a very famous person, just to set the context around the world where we live in, the kind of challenges we are going to face. So as leaders, we are going to face a lot of challenges in the years to come by. It won't be the same set of challenges which we were handling in the past. And as one very famous person said, that the questions are still the same, but the answers have changed. Now, just let me ask you one quick question, and you can use the chat box to convey this answer. Any idea, how many employees out of 100 are really engaged at our workplace? Any guesses? Any guesses you would like to give here? Out of 100, how many employees do you think are really engaged at workplace? This is a question to start with, and let us try to get the answer. 10%, okay. So I'm getting an answer as 10%. How about others? So let's make it an interactive workshop. Otherwise, things would be just a monologue from my side. 30 to 40%. Okay. Let's wait for some more numbers. So when I say engaged, I mean motivated. They don't feel sad when they come to office on a Monday morning. They are in fact sad when they go home on a Friday evening. They are sad when they go home Friday evening. They are highly motivated, charged up. Okay, 60%, 40%. Okay, that's interesting. A lot of numbers I'm getting. So yeah, please feel free to apply a guess here. I'm sure you may not be knowing the answer. You'll be surprised to know with the result. You'll be surprised to know with the result. We talk about productivity, right? We talk about high performing team. We talk about collaboration at workplace. I mean, these are the phrases we hear, right? We talk about servant leadership. I mean, these are the phrases what we talk about, right? There was a survey which was done by an organization called Gallup. It is popularly called a state of the workplace condition, that how employees are experiencing, or what are the feelings which employees are getting at a workplace. And interestingly, you know what? Only 15% of the employees were found to be engaged in their job, which means 85% of the employees are just coming because either there is a financial compulsion, either they have some loan or mortgages to pay, or they have some financial commitment. Given a choice, these 85% people are not motivated to work at your workplace. This is a very, very dark reality we all are in. This is a dark reality we all are in, that 85% of the employees, and this was a survey which was done across continents. In some continents, it is worse. For example, in Europe, the numbers are pretty much less. In Europe, the numbers are pretty much less. Same is in Asia Pacific. We might think that in India, we talk about job security and loyalty, right? But the situation is equally bad in India. People are just coming to workplace just because they have a financial commitment, they have a financial burden, they have mortgages, loans, or they have EMIs, as they call in India. That is a stark reality we are in. Unfortunately, that's a stark reality which we are in, and this throws up a challenge for a leader, that what kind of leadership style should a leader adapt at his or her workplace. This is a big challenge. This is a curvy ball which has been thrown to the leader, that now that only 15% of your team members are really engaged, how do we motivate to come out with our goals, right? Everyone has got goals. Every organization has got a vision. That vision is getting realized through mission. The mission gets realized through the various initiatives and engagements which the organization is doing. But here you have a situation where employees who are working on those engagements where employees who are working on those engagements, out of 100 employees are really engaged in the job. The rest 85% of the employees are not really engaged. That's the situation we are in. Unfortunately, that's the situation where we have landed ourselves into. And this is a survey which is a trustworthy survey. You can go to the Gallup site and you can see some more interesting details. And as I said, this is a big challenge in front of leadership as to how do we motivate our employees. How do we motivate our employees? Because you would have read Vinit Nayar's book, right? Employees first, customers second. Employees first, customers second. That's what he says, right? If your employees are happy, automatically they will take care of customers, right? So that's the reality we are into. And let us move ahead. A very, very classic book by one of the leading coaches in the world, Marshall Goldsmith. What got you here won't get you there. We are observing this phenomenon. Organizations across organizations, they are moving from a pyramid based structure. Gone are the days of a pyramid where the top boss could command something. See, you can command something, you can apply command and control techniques to get a work done, but people will do work for one time, twice, third time, believe me, they are not going to do the work, or they will look for some other organization, and you will lose good set of talent out of your organization. So gone are the days of a pyramid based structure, hierarchy based structure, where power or command could flow from top to middle, from middle to bottom, and this middle layer could act as that frozen layer where there was hardly any communication happening between top and the bottom layer. So in fact, there was a survey which was also done which said that the top manager only knows about 8% of the problems faced by the lowest level of the people, the bottom management. The top management only knows 8% of the actual problems being faced by the junior most employees in the organization, which is again a very, very stark, I would say, data what we have at hand. So gone are the days where you could safely say that, yes, I'm at the top and I'm going to command and this is how things are going to be, right? Today, we talk about a flat linear structure where leader is a one who's more has to imbibe a culture of coaching. A leader is the one who has to imbibe more of a coaching mentorship. From a pyramid of a command, we have to move to a circle of influence. So your teams are looking for that leadership input more in a flat organization structure. That's where that leadership is going to yield dividends. That's where the power of leadership is has shifted from sitting in, I would say, ivory towers, or from sitting in, let's say, cabins, to sitting with the teams. So there are a lot of organizations, by the way, who have gone and completely dismantled and unshackled the cabin concept. No need for a leader to sit in a cabin. The leader will sit with the team. This is where the action is. So the leader has to sit. The information lies with the team. So the leader has to be with the team, and the leader has to empower the team. So what got you here won't get you there. If you have not read this book, please read that book. It is a New York Times bestseller from the world's #1 leadership thinker, Marshall Goldsmith, as I said earlier. Your problems are still same, but the solutions are different. A classic example being COVID-19. It is as similar, the pattern of COVID-19 is as similar as a common cold, but there is no cure. There is no medicine, there is no vaccine for it, right? We are struggling to come out with a vaccine today for it because the problem is still the same. So you might have the same problem. You might have the same problem of culture. You might have the same problem of team empowerment. But the solution cannot be one which was applicable, let us say, 5 or 6 years back. We have to change a solution. It's like an antidote. You have to keep on refining it. You have to keep on making sure that the medicine for, or an antidote for that poison for the venomous snake is a different antidote what we have, right? So the problems are same, but the solutions are different, right? This is the world where we live in today, where organizations are going in for a flatter structure. They have realized the ill effects of a classic pyramid structure. From a hierarchy point of view, not everywhere is pyramid bad. Let me also tell you that, but definitely it's a strict no-go for a situation where you are trying to say that, you know what, you cannot be a leader. What we believe in is that leadership is something which is there for everyone. Leadership is not a prerogative of only the CEO of the organization. Even the junior most intern in the organization can demonstrate leadership skills. That's what we are trying to tell here, right? Let us try to understand something interesting here. So I'm going to give you a small exercise to do. There are 6 words there: passion, initiative, diligence, expertise, creativity, and obedience. Those are the 6 words which are there. I'll repeat: passion, initiative, expertise, diligence, creativity, and obedience. So guys, request you not to use the annotation screen. Request you not to use the annotation screen. Just requesting people not to use it. Okay, yeah. So there are 6 words there: passion, initiative, uh, expertise, diligence, creativity, and obedience. Let us say you are hiring an employee who is going to work in your team. On these 6 skills, sorry, you are supposed to rank them, that what is that topmost skill you're going to look from 1 to 6. 1 is the most important skill, and 2 is the least important skill. Is the problem statement clear to everyone? What you're supposed to do? You're supposed to rank this. I'll tell you where you're supposed to do it. Don't start this exercise right now. You're supposed to rank these skills from 1 to 6 in the order of priority, that which is the most important skill you would like to have in your employee. and which is the least important skill. So you need to go to a site www.menti.com. Please click in this code number 7538924 and please drag and drop. Select which is the first, and then you will see 1 to 6 what you have selected, and then you can change the order. But before submitting, just check that this is the order what you want to submit. I hope the exercise is clear to everyone. So please go to menti.com and please enter this code. Kindly enter this code 7538924, right? 7538924 is the code what you're supposed to enter, and then we will see what is the result what we are getting, right? So let me know if you have done it. Once you have done it, let me know. So the site name is menti.com, www.menti.com. I'm just typing it in the chat box also. And let me also type in the code 7538924. That's the code. 7538924. That's the code. Let me know once you have done it. Any challenges in doing also, please let me know. I hope people were able to do it. I did get a message that many of you were able to do it. Yeah, how about others? Have you done it? Just wanted to check. Yeah, I'll just give me another 1 more minute for folks to do it. Okay, how about others? If you have done it, let me know. Okay. Okay, another minute and then I will reveal the answers. So you all are able to see your answers, right? I hope all of you are able to see the answers what you keyed in that survey, right? I'm not going to display each one of your answers, but I just wanted to check that you all are able to see the answers what you keyed in. Okay, great. Okay, so let us understand what people have voted. This is what the majority has voted. This is what, if I go by majority, first is passion, which everyone has voted. I mean, in the sense majority, okay, not individual. Second is expertise. Third is creativity, okay. Fourth is diligence. Fifth is initiative, majority, okay, if I go by majority. And the sixth one is obedience. Okay, this is what you have voted. This is what you have voted on the Mentimeter site. This is what you have voted on the Mentimeter side. And let me now reveal something very, very interesting. Let me reveal something very, very interesting. I'm not going into individual answers. These were the 6 points which were given. You know what? There's something very interesting about this exercise. This exercise is coming from a book called What Matters Now. What Matters Now? It talks about that as a leader, what you should be focusing on in developing your employee skills. What are those skills you should be working on in developing your employees in? Should it be passion? Should it be obedience? Should it be diligence? Should it be initiative, expertise, or creativity? And something very interesting has come out here, right? If you look at it, uh, the three skills at the bottom, most priority, surprisingly, are expertise, diligence, and obedience. Expertise, diligence, and obedience. And I think expertise was number two in our majority. So why they're saying this is because these three skills are easily replaceable by even non-human beings. These three skills can easily be commoditized. These three skills can easily be outsourced. So if I am an employee and if I'm expert, if I'm diligent, and if I'm obedient, my job would be at a risk because my job is easily replaceable. But if I'm an employee who is very passionate about his or her work, who's creative in his or her work, and who takes initiative on myself, then I am an asset to the organization. So this is a very interesting, I mean, this is analogous to the Maslow's hierarchy of need. The topmost three skills which are required for leaders to build in their employees is passion. They have to make sure that employees are passionate about their work. They are motivated to come to work. The second is creativity. And the third one is the ability to take initiatives. The rest of the three skills, which are at the bottom pyramid, expertise, diligence, obedience, those are something, yes, I'm not saying that they are not important, but they are not something which are to be honed into it, right? They are something which can easily be outsourced. These are skills which can easily be commoditized. You can also hire contract employees who can do this job in a better way. So this is the classic pyramid which is mentioned in the book by Gary Hamel. The book name is called What Matters Now, where he talks about what skills as a leader I should look to hire. In fact, there's also a very interesting video on this by Simon Sinek. It keeps on appearing as a motivational post in LinkedIn. I'm sure many of you would have seen it, that between skills and trust, what will you give weightage for? He has actually drawn those four quadrants. That should you go for an employee who is highly having strong IQ or strong technical skills, or should you go for an employee who has got high trustworthiness? And all of the no prizes for guessing. The answer is that you should go for an employee who is more trustworthy. The other skills like technical skills, your other skills can easily be honed into, right? Those are something which can easily be accomplished through training, through education, through attending webinars, etc. But trust is something which is very, very important. So this is an interesting exercise which was done. And so please read this book also whenever you get time, What Matters Now by Gary Hamel, where he talks about these skills, and any skills below this, which is expertise, diligence, and obedience. Those are the ones which can easily be customized. All right, let us move ahead. So now coming back to our main point, what it takes to become a transformational leader. As you can see here, I've tried to draw some pictures. I've tried to pull in some pictures. Some of these pictures are apparent, like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Steve Jobs. The bottom two pictures, for those of you who are not from India, these are the examples of transformational leadership in an Indian context. This person with a white cap is the pioneer of India against corruption movement. His name is Anna Hazare. For this is mainly for people who are not from India. This person is Anna Hazare. You can read more about him, what work he is doing, and why is he called as a transformational leader. This person is JRD Tata. Uh, Tata Steels is one of the largest business conglomerate in India. They have businesses running into steel, manufacturing, watches, consumer goods, telecom, also into IT services, Tata Consultancy Services. So the originator of that group, JRD Tata, is another example of a transformational leader. So what it takes for me to become leaders like this, right? These all leaders, as we know from history, it was not a cakewalk for them. They were, although some of them might have been born with a silver spoon, it is not that you're born with a silver spoon. It is also important that are you showing those leadership traits of a transformational leader? What makes these leaders different from the rest of the leaders? right? And then nowadays we talk a lot about this servant leadership concept, right? The servant as a leader. These leaders also display servant leadership styles. These leaders at their corporate working style or their political life, they have displayed what we call as a servant leadership style. So what makes these leaders stand out from other leaders, right? Why are these leaders names coming up here? What makes as I said, them cut above the rest, if I were to say. So I'm just trying to list down some of the attributes which you find in a transformational leader, which I would say are the differentiator, the key differentiator between a normal leader and a servant leader. One is a safety net. Are we giving that cushion to our employees? Are we giving them a safety net by saying that come what may be, we understand that you are empowered to take decision, and while in the process of empowering, while in the process of taking decision, there could be a possibility, that what's going to happen is that there could be experiments which could fail. There could be some experiments which could fail in this journey, right? So are we giving that safety net or a cushion? Guys, please requesting all of you not to use the pen. It's really creating a problem here. So requesting all of you not to use the pen. Let me see if I can disable it. Okay, so are we giving that safety net? Are we giving that safety net to our employees is what something we need to understand, right? Are we giving that safety net is what we need to understand here. And that comes in as a part of our safety net cushion. That is nothing but a safety net cushion of what we are want to give them or not. So are we giving them a safety net is the first leadership attribute of a servant leader, what we need to understand, right? So this is one of the, I would say, attribute what we have. This is one of the attribute what we have for a servant leader. My employees need that cushion, and what is that protection I'm providing them? What is that safety net or a cushion which I'm providing them? And am I ready to give that cushion? Many times we see that yes, we talk about empowerment, we talk about delegation, but when an employee makes a mistake, what we do? We are the first one to criticize that employee. But as a leader, as a transformational leader, I need to recognize the fact that mistakes are a part of life. Failure is a learning. It is not a catastrophe. And I have to respect the fact that my employees might fail in their endeavor. When they're experimenting something, when they're coming out with an experimentation, this experimentation might fail. So am I providing that safety net or a cushion to my employee? That's the first attribute of a transformational leader. A transformational leader, as I said earlier, is not a command and control leader. He or she is a coach, a philosopher, a friend, a mentor, and a guide. So there are different connotations to this word. A coach is a different person, a mentor is a different person, philosopher is a different person. Just to give you my example, whatever coaching engagements I have left, I still get people from those coaching engagements calling me to have a call if they are in a crisis like situation or if they need any guidance. So there I'm not their coach. I'm more like a guide to them. I'm more like a mentor to them. And they take that input, they work on it. Sometimes they don't even implement what I have said, but at least they have that feel good factor. So I have been able to make that connect with them, that there's a feel good factor, that they at least call me, that you know what, we are facing this issue. Or they just do a casual talk also with me once in 6 months, or during this festival season, whether it's Thanksgiving, Diwali, or Christmas. They call me and wish me, and then they ask me what's happening, what are the things happening in their project. So I would say that the second most important attribute for a transformation leader is to resist the command and control personality and move more towards a coaching style, move more towards a coaching, I would say, a coaching culture, a coaching style of leadership. That's the second attribute what we have, I would say, from a leader, what is expected, right? So that's a coach, a friend, philosopher, and guide, as we say. That's the coach attribute what we have. The third one is, as a leader, you have to take tough decisions. You're always in that pressure cooker environment. You're always in that high visibility, high, I would say, zone environment, where even a small mistake might prove to be very, very catastrophic, right? So courage is something which is very, very important for a transformation leader. At the same time, when I'm courageous, I don't have to be complacent. I don't have to be arrogant. The very famous quote by Ernst Hemingway: courage is grace under pressure. So even if I'm under pressure, Even if I am under that high pressure cooker environment, I have to take courageous decision. I have to take bold decisions. At the same time, I have to make sure that I am humble and grounded. I need to possess that human sense. I need to possess that empathy. As a leader, I have to own up to my mistake. I have to make sure that the mistake is owned up by me, right? If I have made a mistake, I have to own up that mistake. I cannot pass the buck, or I cannot throw the ball to someone else, or I cannot say that, you know what, I just coached you, right? I mean, I never said that you have to implement this solution. No, I have to take up that on myself, that yes, I admit that it was a mistake. Let us all work towards it. So that's the courage part of it, being humble and being courageous, right? Courage is grace under pressure, as is written there, right? That's what we talk about, courage and being humble. So coming back to courage, addition to courage, am I able to take some bold decisions? Am I able to take some bold decisions? As you can see here, a very famous picture. I'm sure those of you have attended my Agile Coaching Masterclass session already know about this picture. So this might be a repeat for them. Those of you have attended my Agile Coaching Masterclass program. This is a picture of Empire State Building construction, 1930. If you ask me, this is an example of system integration testing and performance testing. The team as a whole is loving their product. They're courageous enough to sit on the product which they have built, right? So as a team, they are giving a message to the world, you know what, we love our product. We are courageous enough to say that this product will not fail. So am I building, as a transformation leader, am I building this culture in my team or not? Am I encouraging my team to be courageous? Am I encouraging my team to be bold enough? That's what comes in as a part of courageous initiative, right? This is another attribute which I need to build up in my team. A person, as a leader, I have to respect the experiments which my team is going to take. I have to respect the collaboration exercises which they are going to take, right? If you would have heard about this multiply book, you would have seen that as a leader, you have to let go the control. You don't have to be there for every problem which they are facing, but at the same time, just keep an eye on them. Just keep an eye on them, that yes, if things are really going out of control, then you have to pitch in, but otherwise you are the ones, you have to be in that observation mode. Let the decision be taken by people who have the information, as they say. So servant leadership is all about making sure that people who have the information are the best people to take decision. Unnecessarily don't block the decision and put it at a hierarchy level. Let us delegate the decision making to the place where the information is residing, and believe me, you will get wonderful results. As a transformation leader, you will find you will be getting wonderful results which could be coming out of this initiative which you take. So courage, as I said, grace under pressure, openness. As a transformation leader, I have to be very, very transparent with my team. And this is one of the factors which is very, very vital for the leadership and the employees to be motivated, right? Am I sharing full facts to my team members, or am I hiding some data? Am I hiding some critical pieces of the information? And right, as you can see here, a very famous philosopher has written there, the transformation of the world is bought by the transformation of oneself. So as a leader, I have to introspect. The change has to happen in me first before I can expect my team members to change. So am I open first? It's very easy for me to say that, you know what, as a team member, you are not open or you are not transparent, you are hiding things. But the buck stops here, right? The buck stops here with me. And I, as a leader, am I transparent enough, or I am still having that opaqueness in my thought? I'm still having that, I would say, that still filters which I'm trying to apply. I'm still working with prejudices when I'm talking with my team, right? So that's the next, I would say, leadership style which a transformational leader should possess, which is related to your, I would say, openness and transparency. In fact, does anyone know that there's a company? There are many companies in this world which actually allow an employee to decide their salary. Are you aware of any such organization which allows an employee to decide their own salary? So they are not going to give an appointment letter. They will ask you as an employee, what do you think is the best salary? Let us know, and we'll see if we can give you that. Right? So it's no, so gone. I mean, just imagine a situation where I'm in an interview, they like my profile, they are going to select me, and then they tell me that you write your own paycheck. You write your own paycheck. Now that you know what is the job description, what is the work which is expected, what are the challenges you're going to face, you decide your own salary. Right, those are called as teal organization, teal. Teal organization is reinventing organization is a very good book. Again, I would recommend you to read that, which talks about the different colors of an organization, from a traditional hierarchy based to a teal organization. Teal organization is a one where there is a strong empowerment. So there are two companies in teal organization. This data is post pre-COVID, sorry. One is Ben and Jerry ice cream, and second one is Southwest Airline. Again, just a word of caution when I'm sharing this data. This is a pre-COVID data which I have. I don't know the impact of COVID on these two organizations, but pre-COVID, these were called as the teal organization. I'll type the word here, TEAL. Teal is a color. So these are the teal organizations what we have: Southwest Airline and Ben and Jerry ice cream. So those are the two organizations which are teal organizations, which have a very open and a transparent culture, as I said. Right? You could walk into the cabin of a CEO and challenge him or her, saying that your policy is wrong. That's the level of empowerment and openness culture which they have built in their organization. Right? That's the transparency which they have built, and this is one of the critical attribute of a transformational leader which one should be possessing. Then the next attribute we have is related to, so we saw about courage, we saw about humility, motivator. There are always going to be those dull days in your organization. There are always going to be those happy days. But a true transformational leader is a leader who's cheerful, who is himself or herself cheerful first. And this leader always motivates the team. Right. At the same time, when you're motivating, you have to also make sure that you are not sugarcoating. Many times we end up adding too much of sugar into our dessert. We have to avoid that, right? A true motivator is a one who understands that the person has not performed to his or her full potential. At the same time, there are some inherent weaknesses which have to be taken care of. And a true motivator is a person who believes in the adage that transformation is not a destination, but it's a journey. So in this journey, you'll find that one day you will be demotivated, one day your employees will be demotivated. As a leader, I might be having some personal problems. As a leader, I might be having some challenges in my working area. So am I myself motivated first? As I said, right, the buck stops here. Before I can ask the team to be motivated, the buck stops here. I have to be motivated. I should be motivated to drive down to office at 9 a.m. in the morning, and I should be feeling a little depressed that, oh, you know what, it's Saturday and Sunday tomorrow, right? I'm now demotivated to go back to home. So there's a very famous chain, I think everyone knows, right? Thank God it's Friday, right? Thank God it's Friday. So there's a corollary for that. Thank God it's Friday. Oh God, it's Monday. Have you heard this corollary? Thank God it's Friday. Oh God, it's Monday. It's a typical pattern which people exhibit, that they are very happy to come to office. Sorry, they are very happy to leave office on a Friday. And what happens is on a Monday morning, they are very, very sad. So I'm just writing it here. Thank God it's Friday. And the next corollary is, oh God, it's Monday. Now, what I say from motivation perspective is that if you are really motivated, all you have to do is just swap the 2 days. Where you see Friday, make it Monday, and where you see Monday, make it Friday. So it actually should be, thank God it's Monday. Oh God, it's Friday. That's the shift you need. That's a tectonic shift. Definitely, it's a big shift what you need, but this is a culture what you have to build in your team. This is a motivation culture what you have to build in your team. Thank God it's Monday. Oh God, it's Friday. You just have to swap those 2 days, right? And then your team would be a motivated. I know it's very easy for me to say here, but that's the level of motivation what you have to bring in your team. As a leader, I have to constantly motivate my team, right? And obviously, I have to be a good learner. I need to be a good learner. Learning is something which is not going to end, right? Learning is a continuous journey. Learning is again not a destination. If you really want to bring about transformation as a leader, I have to learn from my team, right? It's not that I feel a little downgraded when my team member tells me something which I did not know. In fact, I should consider it that it's a good opportunity that someone in my organization, I don't have to go outside my organization to learn about it, right? So my leader, as a leader, I have to keep my eyes and ears open. Learning can come from any source. Remember this, learning can come from any source. It could come even what you watch on the street when you're waiting for that signal to turn from red to green, right? It can come from any individual. Curiosity is something which is lifelong, a skill which we all have to maintain. We have to actually hone this curiosity skill over a period of time, right? So learning ability, the ability to learn, the ability to learn from others mistake, the ability to learn from own mistake, also learn from my team members, is one of the critical skills, is one of the, I would say, last but not the least skills which a leader, which a transformational leader should possess. So what I have tried to depict here based on that pyramid, right? Remember that pyramid, what were the three things which came out of that pyramid? If you go back to what came out of those pyramid, the three things which came out of that pyramid was passion, creativity, and initiative. What I had tried to depict was these six skills are the one which will help you bring about those skills into your employees, right? Into your employees, like safety net, providing coach, being a coach and a mentor and a guide to the team, humbleness, being humble in your day-to-day transactions, having courage, having openness, transparency, being that motivator to the team, and having a constant zeal and a passion for learning. So if you ask me, if as a leader I want to move into that next level of a transformation leader, where I am not in that command and control mode. Remember, once again, I'm repeating, transformational leader doesn't mean that sitting in a cabin and then directing it from there. It's more about working with the team. It's more sitting with the team at a ground level and spreading your circle of influence. So if you look at the earlier diagram, it was nothing but a circle of influence which you are trying to spread. So if you see that leader circle, it is cutting across all the circles. It is going into all the circles of your teams. So those are your teams. As you can see, there is no hierarchy. It's all the team members are in a cross-functional, self-organized mode, what you see. And this is where the leadership also has to sit. Leader cannot be at a pedestal and then talk from that pedestal. The leader has to be with the team, right? So if you ask me, these are, I would say, the attributes of a, I would say, a transformational leader which one needs to possess. As you can see, some very famous quote there: leadership is based on inspiration, not domination; on cooperation, not intimidation, right? You cannot intimate or threaten your team members and get the work done. And remember one thing, as I said, your command and control leadership might work for some point in time, but it is not always going to give you the result. People buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. Remember this. Yes, your organization could have a very, very beautiful vision, but people are going to trust you when you're hiring the best of the best employees from the market, when you're hiring the best of the best employees from your competitors, more than the organization. They are looking into your skills, how much you are able to influence, and what is your stake in the transformation. So as I said, there is a quote there from John Maxwell: people buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. As you would have heard also about a very famous quote, right? People don't leave organizations, they leave bosses. The reason why they leave bosses is because that somewhere that trust factor has broken. When they joined the organization, they were convinced about this vision, but over a period of time, that vision was blurred, or that vision was completely missed out by the leader over a period of time. It could be because of greed, it could be because of stress, it could be because of pressure. But the leader, the person whom we trusted before, when we decided to engage with this person, that person has completely changed over a period of time. So with this, I complete my webinar and I'll open up for questions. Just wanted to let you know that we have an Agile Coaching Masterclass coming up this Saturday, Sunday in the USA time zone, and next Saturday, Sunday, which is 28th, 29th in the India time zone. So we have two batches, one in the USA and Canada time zone. which is, I'll share the details shortly with all of you. What are those timings of this? This is the photograph of our last Agile Coaching Masterclass, where we cover more such interesting concepts, what I just shared with you. So it's a 2-day full-fledged Agile Coaching Masterclass program, which covers your coaching mindset, which covers your leadership mindset. And if you're looking in for a job as a Scrum Master, Agile Coach, this is the program for you. I would say that. So we have trained almost, I would say, 200 plus associates in last 1 year, and all of them have been able to utilize the coaching skills which they have learned in this program into their day-to-day activities. So I will ping you the details about this program shortly, what this program is all about. But meanwhile, any questions anyone has any questions, I'll just unmute you. And also would like to hear the feedback about this session. So I have unmuted you. You can one by one unmute yourself, and you can ask if there are any questions around it. Yeah, you'll have to unmute yourself if you want to ask question. Yes, anyone, any questions here?
Ashutosh, I have a question.
Yes, yes.
So this is what I was hearing is very good. But when you
Mm-hmm.
are joining an organization,
Mm-hmm.
what are the factors or the areas you have to look into it to see that the organization is what you are looking for? Like the leadership style is that. What are the key things you will suggest to see?
So that's what I said. I think in the I think towards the last, right, people buy into the leader before they buy into the organization vision. As a leader, that person is the ambassador for the organization. So if I'm convinced that the leader is what I would like to work with, what I would love working with him or her, that's where you're bought into the organization. So many times you would have seen, right, when a very transformational leader leaves the organization, you'll see that 2 or 3 people go along with him or her. This is precisely the reason, because they believe in the person more than believing in the organization. So if you ask me, yes, organization, you can do a research, right? There are Gartner reports available. There is this Glassdoor report available, which will give you those analytics about what is the attrition of this company, what are the good feel good factors, not so good factors. So you'll always get those reports from data sources like Gartner or Glassdoor, etc. But whether you should work in this organization, whether you are making a right choice or not, that depends on what kind of equation you could formulate when you are in that discussion mode with the leader, when you're giving those interviews with the leader. What kind of how did that conversation go? If you fumbled somewhere, did the leader accept that fumble, or is he or she more into that blame game pointing? Right, those are the attributes, I would say. So it's more on the qualitative aspects, it's more on the soft skill aspects, which will give you those things,
Got it.
those
Thank you.
indicators, if I were to say.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Thanks, Sunit.
Yeah, hi Ashutosh, Saurabh here.
Yeah, Saurabh, yeah.
Yeah, hi. Firstly, thanks for your suggestion. That is definitely it's very informative.
Mm-hmm.
And my not it is not the question. It's just a query. Like it is my experience that I recently joined an organization who is
Mm-hmm.
transforming from waterfall to agile. So it's around 2 months. And as I am taking care of this transformation, so I was also facing some issues like not from the team members, but sometimes we have to get the challenges from the senior management as well. So
Mm-hmm.
on that situation, how you can suggest me to handle these types of situations, such concern like proper support on transformation, because they are very much comfortable in a waterfall.
Mm-hmm. No,
So
that's
how
what.
do
Yeah. So the person who's a change agent, who's bought into this agile transformation. So if they have hired you as a transformation agent, definitely they're convinced with an agile transformation, right? Otherwise, why would they hire a coach from outside, right? So
true?
that person you will have to reach out. And so are they doing a lipstick service, or just for the namesake they wanted to do agile, or was it for something else? That is what you will have to find out here. And so here, as I said, right, I mean, your first few days of your engagement, should be more understanding that what is the background, why this was decided that we have to move from a traditional way of working into an adaptive way of working or an agile way of working. That's what you have to find out. So it involves a lot of coaching skills. It involves a lot of, I would say, consultation with the end users, with the key stakeholders of the organization, and then only you can get a clear picture as to why there's a kind of a resistance from that senior management team. Like, what could be the reason why they are not too keen on an agile transformation?
Yes, okay, I got it. Thank you. Thanks, Ashu.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Hi, hi, Ashutosh.
Ashutosh.
Yeah, someone is talking. Please go ahead.
Uh, all right, this is Helen. Hey, no, it's not a question, just a comment. I just joined the WhatsApp group this morning, and I want to thank you guys. Your delivery was awesome. I can't believe 45 minutes went by so fast. Lot of quotes, a lot of insight to the books that I should read in the next few weeks. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to your mastery class that you mentioned. That's this weekend and the week after. I'm looking forward for the details to that again. Thank you
Yeah,
so
so I
much.
have pinged the details. That is Helen, right? That's Helen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Helen,
Yes.
first of all, thanks for joining. And yeah, I've shared the details here. And you can go on the US program. So I'm just pinging once again the link for the US program. You can go there and connect. The one with the US is the US one what we have there. So one quick thing before I forget. So please register for this if you're interested in it, right? I'll be more than happy to have you coach there. And for others, I do have a half an hour free coaching session also, which I conduct. I will share the details of this separately with you. So I think Saurabh had a question earlier, so which probably might need a discussion in a more detailed forum. So you can connect with me offline on that. There's a coaching session which I conduct, which is a free coaching session. You can connect with me on that, and I can share the more in depth details about it. Yeah, I think there's one more person who had a question. Sorry.
Yeah, hi Ashutosh. This is Sainath. And before I put across anything, I would honestly convey my gratitude because I see you bringing your knowledge, expertise, and wisdom together, and you bringing a lot of remarkable change in the market. And I have a question. I have seen uh, most of the coaches, and they say that we need to inculcate or adopt so and so skills to make ourselves completely different from the crowd. And I seen that you've been talking a lot of attributes to be an exceptional or a transforming leadership. So could you help all of us to know how one can inculcate all these attributes or the qualities which you have mentioned, like being a very coach or all the things which you mentioned. So in simple, if I have to precise my question, how would you give us the complete insight where someone can inculcate all these things? Because most of us would be really aware that what we need to have, but how we need to have is the biggest question.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, I
So
want to just add to that same question. Sorry. Great
Mhm.
question. I did have the same question, right? Some of the competencies that you mentioned that we need to have for leadership are some natural skills that one may have. But there are a lot more competencies that we do not have at this point, but we need to hone it. How do we acquire those, right? This is the same question I had, but thank you so much.
Sure, sure. I'll answer that. So, see, there is no particular order in which you have to go in this. See, it has to come with practice. As one of the quotes was there, right? It is a journey, it is not a destination. So, slowly you will have to start giving that cushion to your team members. Maybe if you're, okay, I'm not saying that you're doing it. Let's assume that as a coach, I'm more of a command and control guy. Now that I have attended this program, maybe I will introspect myself and think that, okay, let me at least try it out, right? If Ashutosh is saying, I'll come back to Ashutosh later on saying that no, it did not work with me, which is okay, right? I mean, since Ashutosh has given me this idea, let me try it out. So maybe I'll give that some small safety net. See, remember one thing, these things have to be done in small packets. You cannot do a big bang approach. You cannot do a big bang approach, otherwise it might lead to a disastrous result in your transformation. So maybe start giving that small safety net cushion to your team members. Okay, I will empower you up to this much point in this particular initiative, and let's see the results. And then you do a kind of a feedback analysis, that did it help, did it not help, or did it lead to some other problem. Similarly, coaching is something which I feel that, see, coaching is something which is an art also, and which is a science also. So you have to practice a lot. When you talk about coaching skills, which I mentioned, you have to go into that conversational mode. And again, I'm not selling my program, but we talk about that in our agile coaching masterclass also in detail. But there are also a lot of free webinars which I've done on coaching, that how you build that coaching culture in your organization, how you become a mentor for your team, what is the difference between a mentor, trainer, and a coach. So coaching is something, so one important tip about coaching is, we might have a tendency to speak a lot, right? So if one joke which I make is, I only speak in webinars like this, but when I'm in a coaching session, I'm very silent and I'm very introspective, and people get a little puzzled that, oh, we heard his webinar, he was very talkative, and suddenly how come he's just saying, he's just nodding his head, or he's just doing an eye contact with me as a coachee, right? So coaching is more about listening, coaching is more about understanding. And the joke about coaching is that you are not supposed to give a solution, you are supposed to bring the person to that solution. So you need to hone skills around that, because what happens in the initial days of your coaching journey is, that you know what, the initial part of your coaching then is, you as a coach are tempted to offer a solution, which is where you have to move out of it, which is where you have to move out of that temptation to deliver a solution, right? So that's one thing you have to take care of. I think the rest of the things, as you said, they are already there in all of us: humbleness, courageous, openness, motivation, learner. But what happens is, because of organization pressure, I feel that the rest of the skills get overlapped, or they get dwarfed. I think everyone is a humble person, right? Everyone is there to, because of a corporate pressure, or because of that so-called rat race, we say that, no, if I admit my mistake, what's going to happen, my career would get messed up, right? That is what comment we make. So that's where I'm trying to say that the rest of the skills are pretty much there. Some of the skills, yes, I do agree that you have to acquire, and again, it's a journey. It will take a lot of time, maybe not one engagement, it could be a couple of engagements where you start fully understanding the importance of these skills what you have.
Ashutosh Raisa here.
Sorry,
Oh,
who? Sorry, I lost you.
Raisa.
Yeah, Raisa. Sorry. Your voice
Yeah.
is coming very far off. Sorry for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I was not
Yeah.
able to hear. Yeah.
I will try to speak in a bit louder. Yeah. First of all, thank you for this session. The mind, it's not a question, it's an experience kind of thing. Somewhere the extension of the Saurabh scenario, joining the new organization in the transformation role in the few months back during this pandemic. So what experience, what I'm observing in my area is that this the organization is already in the transformation to this waterfall to agile, that journey they have already started. But surprisingly, when I step in and I'm started observing things, I find the coaches are following some anti patterns.
Okay, that's interesting.
Exactly. So,
Hmm,
because I was a Scrum practitioner, you must say, on the different level. So I have realized that from the start, and I'm just observing. So far in the couple of months, I'm just observing and just trying to understand what is the thought process behind it. Then I realized these are again my observations, that the training team in this organization is a different vendor, and exhibition team is a different vendor.
Okay.
So, because I have seen this kind of industry practice, the different organization, different projects are tweaking the agile methodology, and you understood, right, how they are
Right.
using it there. So this
Hmm.
is something I observe in a beginning of this, whenever I'm talking in such kind of attending such kind of webinars. So this is common thing everywhere, because a very minor thing, just I came out of my previous call, it is about the capacity. So I
Uh-huh.
realized, okay, this is something they are not following, which may be very helpful. The last week when I discussed about risk, these guys were unaware about how to raise the risk. It's a very simple thing. Maybe to waterfall, maybe to agile. It should be there in our cards, right? Irrespective of the methodology. So
Yes.
they just, yeah.
So,
So
so that's very interesting problem to have. I mean, to be very honest, I have not encountered that where the coaches themselves are not motivated, or they are So it's like the cop following all the breaking all the rules, right? I mean, we see a lot of that happening in our country, right, where the cops themselves are accused of breaking the rules. That's a very I would say an interesting case study. See, the reason could be that it could also be that you have to also empathize with the coaches. They could have tried it out in the past, things would not have moved, or it's like that classic one step forward, two step backward, and the coaches would have gone into that comfort zone that let's not handle this. I'm getting my salary, I'm getting my paycheck at the end of the month, and I'm also not motivated now to continue with this engagement. That could be the reason. I'm not saying that this is the reason, but this could be the reason that the coaches would have tried and tested this multiple times in the past. They could have gone into that frustration zone where they would have realized that there's no point in, it's like breaking your head against a hard rock. Ultimately our head is going to get banged on. Let's wait for another engagement, and till the time they're just trying to, I would say, kill the time in this particular engagement. So that could be one of the reasons. I'm just trying to hint here.
Might be exactly. That's why I'm not tagging it. What can be the reason? I'm just so far. I'm just trying to understand their purpose.
So they would have gone from that challenger mode into more of a comfort zone. So there's that classic comfort zone, right? So from comfort zone, you move into a fear zone, from fear to a learning to a growth zone. They would have attempted to go take the team to that growth zone, but you would have found that there are some external factors, organization politics, organization culture, which is pulling back that, I would say, that initiative back into that comfort zone. So as a result of which, coaches would have found that, yeah, no point in breaking head here.
Might be, I'm not sure, but let me see.
Yes, but a very interesting case. Very interesting case. So by the way, I have pinged a website address here where you can see all our upcoming events. So there's also a webinar on the servant leadership happening on 20th of November. So if you enroll for the Agile Coaching Masterclass, you get that webinar free. That webinar is a paid webinar, of course, but you'll get free if you enroll for the Agile Coaching Masterclass program, for the 2-day program. So as I'm saying, that program is on 21st, 22nd, and 28th, 29th for the US timing. So that is only 2.5 hours for the US time zone, and 28, 29, it's 5 hours for India, UK, and Africa and the Middle East time zone, and also Singapore time zone. So those are the 2 programs which are there. If you need any more clarifications on those programs, I've given my WhatsApp number also. I'm just once again pinging it once again here, and you can connect with me on WhatsApp to get more details on it. If you are a group of 2 or 3 people, we can also give you a nice discount. So if you are a group of 2 or 3 people, do reach out to me. And so it's also an indication that if you can network amongst the team here, I'm fine with it. That's absolutely fine. If you can network with the people out here, if 2 or 3 of you are interested, you can club here and reach out to me separately. We can give you a discount code for that. Yeah, any other question? Yeah, servant leadership book. I think I did not mention any servant leadership book. I think the book which I mentioned was, by the way, any feedback on the exercise which I asked you to do on Mentimeter? I mentioned you about this book, what got you here, what won't get you there, and then What Matters Now by Gary Hamel. This is a book which I mentioned you. Any feedback about the exercise, the Mentimeter exercise? What you did? I hope you could you like that exercise.
Yes, sir, that was good actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very good GUI and very easy to use.
Yeah, so that UI is not mine. That UI is by Menti, of course. I'm just using it. It's a free site which they allow you to use. So that UI is from Menti, menti.com.
Okay. It was very easy to access.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else? Any other question? Do connect with me on LinkedIn in any case. I'll be more than happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. I'll just share my LinkedIn ID once again. Just want yeah, so this is my LinkedIn ID. Do connect with me on LinkedIn. You will come to know more about such programs which we conduct at regular intervals. So if there are no further questions, I think then we can close for the day. So thanks a lot, and it was wonderful interacting with all of you. And thanks for the wonderful questions all of you asked.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok.
Thank you. Bye. Have a great evening ahead. Thank you.